Welcome once again to our 6 Minutes to Center devotional thought for the week. Last time we were together, I told you about how I had an experience trying to tune in my satellite dish after it was left hanging after our roof was refinished. This week I'd like to tell you the rest of the story. Once I had that satellite dish focused in, I needed to secure it, didn't I? And so back up on the roof I went. I had my drill, my socket wrench, my lag bolts, and my caulking gun that had the sealant in there to seal off everything to make sure I wasn't getting any leaks down into my attic again. And so I got that secured, no problem. I drilled my holes, put the lag bolts in, sealed it up. The trouble actually came though when I was ready to get down off of the roof. I reached over to grab my drill. I bumped it. I did not get a hold of it. It went sliding off the roof where it bounced once on the ground, did a flip, and landed bit first right into the side of our little swimming pool in the backyard. My first thought was, I don't even remember getting down off the roof. All I remember is busting in the back door, running through the house, hurdling Toby, and then grabbing my reel of Gorilla Tape, which I then ran back outside. Toby goes, "What's wrong?" I go, "I poked a hole in our pool." And then I started trying to tape it up. I finally got that patched. Long story short, and a couple of patches later, I was able to secure my swimming pool where the water was no longer shooting out at a very rapid rate. The spiritual application is this: sometimes things just don't go right. I look at the biblical examples and consider Joseph, who through a series of bad things happening, actually God used that progression to save Joseph's family and to begin to build a mighty nation. I love the words that Joseph spoke to his brothers after their father had died and they had come to him worried that he was going to retaliate for their actions. Genesis chapter 50 verses 19 through 21 says, "But Joseph said to them, 'Do not fear, for am I in the place of God? As for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to bring it about that many people should be kept alive as they are today. So do not fear.'" What about Daniel or Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Here, these guys stayed faithful to God even when bad things were happening. Some who looked at that situation may say that bad things were happening because of their faithfulness to God. But what was the end result? They became the hero of their own stories because God got them through those times because of their faithfulness. Here's one that we don't think of very often. What about the story of Naomi and Ruth? Naomi, because of a famine in the land, moved with her husband to the land of Moab. While there, her husband passed away, and not just her husband, but also her two sons. Penniless, Naomi decides to go back to Israel. Ruth would not leave her alone, though, and didn't want Naomi to move back by herself. The result is that Ruth becomes the grandmother to King David. And of course, we can trace the birth of Christ back to the lineage of David, can't we? My point is, don't let negative things cause you to have a negative attitude. In each and every case, negative circumstances resulted in God doing mighty works in the lives of those who stayed faithful to him. God may be preparing you, or maybe even your descendants, for something great. Don't limit what God can do in your life, and strive to overcome. Be faithful to God even in those trials. Trusting God can make you the hero of your own story. And let's not forget the most incredible example of something good coming out of something negative. And of course, that is the story of Christ. Romans chapter 8, verses 31 through 37 says it very well. What shall we say then to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us? He who did not spare his own son, but gave him up for all of us, how will he not also with him graciously give us all things? Who shall bring any charge against God's elect? It is God who justifies. Who is to condemn? Christ Jesus is the one who died. More than that, who was raised, who is at the right hand of God, who indeed is interceding for us. Who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Shall tribulation, or distress, or persecution, or famine, or nakedness, or danger, or sword? As it is written, for your sake we are being killed all the day long. We are regarded as sheep to be slaughtered. No, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. I would say that is something that is pretty great that came out of a negative situation. And we too don't have to be afraid because God is with us. And through him we can be more than conquerors. Thank you for taking 6 minutes to center with me today.